Hello and welcome to The Pause. I'm Laia. I'm really excited to invite you to join me in this series of conversations with some of the folks that have really inspired me to live a more aligned lifestyle and to stay accountable with myself, to learn what self care is just by having conversations, just by exchanging experiences and tools, and just really being honest with ourselves when we chat. Today, with me for the first of this series, I'm super excited to introduce you to Valerie.
Hello.
Welcome, Valerie.
Thank you.
She's someone that describes herself as someone that loves to connect with people, loves to be outdoors, and also has a passion for helping others sustain their businesses and bring their vision to fruition. I'd love for you to tell the story of how we came in touch with each other. How did we get to know each other?
I was looking for a yoga studio in Florida. Your Instagram was tagged as a Friday class that I was going to go to and just clicked on it, saw your profile, and it just so happened that you were posting within the week of, I think it was like the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Which is this week, by the way.
Right, or IBD Awareness Week and stuff. So I was like, oh, and I have Crohn's disease and had that for about 20 years now. I was hoping to find somebody that would understand that world, especially doing something from what I knew was going to be physical with my body. Remember showing up that Friday after just reading a little bit of who you were, and it just gave it a more safe space. It felt like walking in that I knew somebody was going to actually understand what I go through.
It's pretty rare, right, to find like a yoga teacher that actually has the same condition as you, and you're like, oh, all right, cool.
I was like, this is perfectly aligned. I am so excited. It definitely, I wasn't excited to find, sadly, another person that goes through it, but community is huge. And to find it in person is, like you said, a rarity.
Because I'm very intentional on how I teach. I don't have a problem saying I'm this is what I teach, right? Like I teach accessible yoga, that's what I do. But reality is that most of the time the people that end up in your classes, which you know well, right, because you're also a yoga teacher, they that's not maybe the population that I really want to serve. So it's rare to have someone walk through the door that's like, hey, I'm exactly the person that you love to teach. So it was a really cool connection. So I'd like to start our conversation by asking you how you're feeling. And when I ask you how you're feeling, sure, you can answer to me like you would answer to someone in the grocery store, right? Like the cashier or whatever, like, oh, I'm great.
Okay.
But maybe I invite you to dive a little bit deeper. But how are you feeling today? Or right now, even?
I love that right there is, I like to ground myself in that exact question. I would say in the moment. So today or right now, I feel really good because I'm here with somebody I love talking about things that are near and dear to both our hearts, and to be able to have the space to do so. I'm very grateful. It feels like a lighter day for me, and that can be very nice, living from anything from just a normal able-bodied, no problem person. We all have hard days, but for somebody that does live with chronic illness and does wear many hats, wife, mom, entrepreneur support, yoga teacher, things. I mean, we all do many things. So these light days feel like a very welcomed moment.
I'm going to dive a little bit deeper because you said that you're good. So, what does feeling good means to you physically,
Yeah.
right? Because I think it's important to know, if I feel good, what does that mean for me, right? Because again, I can answer to the grocery store person that I'm good, but if I actually can use that moment to actually ask myself how I am, what does good mean to you physically, mentally, emotionally? What does that mean to you?
Right. Another good question. I love that. Expanding on good and why you feel the way you feel is definitely a very useful tool that I've learned to use in the past like 5 years. And so when I say good, for me, or even lighter, it does, like, where my mind is at that day. Is it filled with many tasks that are intersecting, or am I able to not necessarily compartmentalize as much, but really, I mean, maybe that would be the best word, but to stay present in that moment. I might know I have a whole day's worth of many things. And if I look at the big picture, it can be overwhelming. So to be able to stay moment to moment, it feels good because I feel connected. I feel present. And, that's all we have is that exact moment. So learning to live in that state over the past years instead of like a dissociated or a do go, kind of like slowing down makes me feel good.
It sounds like you've gotten really good at checking in with yourself.
I would say it's a skill that is a never-ending practice. I can say that yes, there I have the awareness of what benefit that has checking in now that I practice it more often than I have in the past. But it is just that, a practice. There are many days where just feeling so many things, or feeling pain in chronic illness, or feeling the mental strain and the emotional strain that can go with that, and just everyday life, checking in always. There's the benefit I reap every single time. It is also where you need to, or at least I know I need to, not feel like it to do it.
Isn't that the thing? It's like, oh, when I don't feel like it. So
Yeah.
what how do you check in? Like, what is
Mhm.
it one thing that you can kind of rely on, that oh, if I do this one thing, it kind of gives me the information that I need to move forward through my day, or like,
Mhm.
or like to shift, or whatever it is that you need.
The top thing I would say for me is taking a moment in stillness and silence and in prayer for me to just ground again, mind, body, and spirit at the same time. I find if I am out and about, I can ground my breath for a moment. I can take those things. But for me, on an everyday practice, is really trying to get into stillness in the morning before all the external things start coming at you, and really getting still with myself, how I'm feeling, maybe why I'm feeling that way, and just preparing myself kind of just to be filled up before I can start to pour out.
I think that's the important thing, right? I think just knowing that no matter where you're starting from, if you know where you're starting from, I think it's much easier to choose where you're gonna create space, right? Where you're gonna chill, or where you're like, oh, actually today I feel energized and I feel
Mm-hmm.
whatever, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I
Mm-hmm.
have space and capacity for this. I have
Mm-hmm.
space and capacity for that. I think a lot of times when people just go,
Yeah.
suddenly, right, like it just explodes, or there's illness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we've been there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it came out of nowhere. Like people ask me all the time, like, did your Crohn's come out of nowhere? And I'm like, I could say yes, because like there's a part of me that feels like one day I ate something and all of a sudden I was like shitting myself,
Right.
but that's not the truth. Like if I
No,
go
it's
if I go
progression.
back,
Yeah.
I'm like, as a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
I already had like this level of stress, and I just didn't, I didn't know how to
Right.
process it. I didn't know how to move it,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yes. That how to move it, right? Because you feel it in certain areas for certain people. I mean, Crohn's disease, a lot of the feel it in the gut,
Mm-hmm.
and that area, it makes sense. A lot of the pain there, going to the bathroom, it just so to know how to move it or how to even comfort it,
Yeah.
and you're not really taught that. At least here in the States, it's not something that's focused on so much.
I don't think it's very focused anywhere. And that's the thing I think I did realize, especially through yoga practices and stuff, is that digestion, just like everything, it's not just the actual digestion of like food, but it's emotional digestion, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like digesting life, and how you digest life
100%.
affects your experience,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that that is one of, I don't know, blessings of Crohn's, is that it's helped me not only learn what I can eat, when I can eat it, how I can eat it, but also like when to pause, when to be like, you know what, I don't have the capacity for this, I'm out.
Know your
Walk away from a
limits.
situation,
Yeah.
or take a break or whatever, other than end up in the hospital.
The self-awareness to know your limits is key in chronic illness too. Can't continue always to push through or show up in the ways that some people that don't walk through some of the symptoms and things would naturally do.
And I think that it happens to everyone. I just think
Mm-hmm.
that maybe for us it's just more obvious.
More frequent, maybe more. I always say that to people that deal with maybe stomach issues or got a stomach virus, and they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry, it's nothing like what you go through. And I'm like, please, it's awful all around. So your pain and what you've gone through completely matters. And it's just, you appreciate people's kindness, but it's not fun. Those down days for anybody are awful. So
Oftentimes we put hierarchy to pain, right? And it's like, oh, this type of pain is like, oh, I'm so sorry for you, and the other type of pain you should just like push through. And I think pain is different for everyone.
100%.
And again, the level of discomfort that you have the capacity for really affects the experience and how you
Mm-hmm.
can move through that pain. So all these tools that you're saying that you're gaining through practice and awareness and just exploring and learning, I think that can make the difference. You were talking about a little bit about your routines. So I'd love for you to maybe describe what your routine, like if you have like a really set routine. And I don't want to say morning routine because I don't want people to also think that if they have a routine, it has to be in the morning.
100%.
Because
True.
there are people that wake up, the only thing you have time to do is your basic, actual, necessary self-care, right? And get out. Where do you find space and what does it look like for you?
There's, like you said, it does vary day to day. I do have 2 kids home with me, so finding space to have self-care looks different daily. And on an average day, the things that I ground with, I try to have prayer in the morning. That's definitely something that's very close to me. And then I also from there take time to just breathe, go outside. The outdoors for me is, I know, a space where I find peace, and so I try to tap into some of that. I love to take time and move my body in some way, somehow. It could look like, if I have more time, getting out to a yoga studio and practicing on a weekly basis there, or moving my body, even just walking around my neighborhood or walking through my house. It just needs to move, stretch as I'm doing basic things, and to move the energy in my body that, can be stagnant from a night's sleep. Or even during the day, if I find tasks and things, or even if I notice a moment of anxiety or overwhelm, it's a lot of noise and things going on constantly. I will take time. I will communicate to others I'm taking a set amount of time, and if I can breathe, or if I go even just read a book that I like, or listen to some music, and taking time. It just is finding little joys in life that I know are those things that, hey, even on bad days, stressful days, I know these things are gonna lighten the mood.
You know what I love about that is that it does sound like you have a solid routine that, yeah, probably maybe your mornings kind of sort of, the pieces of them look the same. But what I love is that you said so many different little things. And I think that's what makes a practice sustainable, is letting go of the rigidity of like, it has to look like this. I have to do 10 sun salutations every day and then do this and then that. It's like, no, I know what things serve me. And I will sprinkle them in different places so that, so that they actually serve the purpose that they're meant to serve, which is center me or ground me or whatever it is that you need. I love that.
You might have a season of life where there's a lot more tension or stress, or just a lot more heightened energy. And for me, some days that's best released by going for a run. And I'm outside again, and I do some of my best thinking out on runs. And so other days that sounds like torture.
I mean, anytime you say, like we were talking about earlier, we went on a walk and you were like, oh, I love to run down this trail, and I'm like already holding my belly. And that's when, also, that's why it doesn't matter what kind of pain, or like if you have more pain than me, or it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just learning what works for you. And if you love to run, like, please go run. I will walk behind you and I'll see you when you turn around, because I'm not going to run. But to me, it's the same thing. It's like, I do know that I need to move. And how I choose to move will have to do with how much attention I've paid to how I feel.
Yeah, 100.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
yes.
I could go to be like, oh, well, I guess I just need a little bit more energy, and then go to the yoga studio and go to a power class, pretty much pass out, or then be in pain for 10 days. Or I can be like, you know what, I really need some energy, but physically I don't feel that great. And then choose a practice that can energize me, which could be breath work, meditation, kriya. It could be a lot of things. It could be having a conversation with a friend, and still get that same energetic shift without doing something that's damaging me at the time. So you mentioned going to the yoga studio to practice sometimes. And so I would like to know, as someone with chronic illness and as someone that oftentimes probably practices different than other people, I want to know, what barriers have you found at yoga studios?
I always, where I found my home for yoga now, I'm so grateful that it's been accessible, always taught in a way that gives options in such a supportive fashion. So I just do remember, in the very beginning search of my yoga journey by myself, I went to a studio, and I remember going into the class feeling nervous, but then I walk in, it's okay, and variety of ages and sizes and all the things. So I was like, okay, cool, this is great. Like I think this will be fine. I get my mat out, everybody starts, the practice is being led, and you get that like, oh, wow, you look like you could do this here, and from the instructor, and it was I think, oh, I'm trying to go back to the pose. I think it was a shoulder stand, or being able to go up into one. And me being new to yoga and a recovering people pleaser, I and being called out, and everything was just new. So mind is just like, okay, maybe I can, or maybe they're just encouraging. I love to encourage people to go for things. So I go along, and I putting my body into a position and listening to what they're saying, and it's not very comfortable, and it's a little, I just think I got in my own way and just kept doing it instead of coming out and just saying, no, I'm good. Again, I don't know the etiquette in these
Yep.
things. I
Yep.
have no clue, but I know I'm being called out and talked to,
And
and
you're in a
it's
class.
fine.
The right thing to
Yeah.
do is what the teacher says,
Sure,
right?
yeah, there's a level of trust you hope for, of like that they are aware of how they're instructing or whatever. But in the end, I was fine. I got out of it. I do have an ileostomy, so for me to be doing something now in hindsight as an instructor, learning about what muscles and different things are used, it's not that they didn't know, but or that they need, like, it was, I'm not going to necessarily disclose that in the middle of my first class, but in the end, accessible yoga to me would mean teaching it in a way that, without even knowing that, like, I'm just going to be like careful or aware to know that there could be something invisible that I don't see. And just saying somebody looks in shape or able bodied to do something, there's so many more mental layers, emotional layers, like physical layers that you don't know. And to not know somebody and to go into that direction right off the bat, again, in hindsight, ooh, red flag. But
Hmm.
otherwise, I didn't go back because and that's okay. It just didn't feel right anyway.
Hmm.
So I'm okay with that. And I understand now, again, that people learn things differently and teach in different ways. But I'm going to find supportive ways that are safe. And it didn't feel safe. And
Hmm.
I'm okay with that. It was a learning experience.
A lot of yoga teachers would probably argue that it was your fault because you didn't disclose that. What would you say to them? What's your opinion on that?
I remember there's an intake form that I do write that down. They do say, and that's something I do share, because that's, I think, a very useful thing body wise, to tell somebody that's going to help you move your body no. So I could refer back to that. Tell if it was brought up, I would definitely be like, I'm not going to say that in the middle of a class. I don't necessarily think disclosing medical stuff of personal nature, where there's going to be no real conversation that we can have safely in the middle of a group class to keep it moving. So it wouldn't have been the time. So I don't.
Honestly, I never ask anyone. The only reason I knew about your case is because you showed up and you told me.
It's like,
That's
oh,
the only. I'm
yeah.
like, if you give me the information because you want to,
Hmm.
I'll take it. But if when I think about it, I'm a yoga teacher. Like, I do have knowledge about anatomy. I was a professional athlete, so there's things that I know
Yeah.
about the physical body. I also have the same illness as you, so maybe I have like an inkling of something. And at the same time, how is that going to make a difference if it's the 17th class that you've come to? Then I think when you build a container, teacher, student, or whatever, right? Then when there's the trust,
Right.
maybe there is a point to that. If I've seen
Sure.
your practice for long enough, right,
That's,
and
yeah,
we've
my point
practiced
right there.
together
Yeah.
for long enough, then maybe there's a point and you'll be like, hey, by the way,
Hmm.
I've got this going on. When I go to yoga class and the first thing the teacher says is, doesn't know my name, doesn't know anybody's name. There's like 50 fucking people in there. And they say something in the lines of like, if anybody has anything going on, just please get me the fuck out. Like right away, I'm like, this is not the space for me. And again, and I know that it works for people.
It was not where I felt that it would even make sense to be doing that conversation in the middle of that class. I totally respect. I can see why they went the route they did. I can see maybe why they said what they said. But we all think differently. But I also know, for me, it did not feel safe, and I need safety. The risk of me having something complicated go wrong with my abdomen is higher, and that is my responsibility to cater to that, and
Mm-hmm.
with my self-awareness. And if I don't believe that is established, and if I don't want to establish it from the first time on, that's my choice too. And I just
That's
felt
right.
that it was not the space that I needed to be in. I appreciated the practice, and I kept it moving. It was a learning thing, and I
Hmm.
felt good about, being able to say, nope, this isn't for me. And
There's no wasted yoga practice really,
yeah,
because again, like the point of it is the practice. Even if you learn, hey, this is not for me, this
right.
teacher is not for me, it doesn't mean the teacher is bad. It doesn't
Not at
mean
all.
that yoga is not. It's just that particular thing just didn't work out, and you
Right.
can go try something else.
Yeah.
We're gonna shift gears a little bit here.
Yeah.
This is something that again, I asked you earlier, how are you doing, right? And we talked about that, but I have found that that is kind of oftentimes an empty question.
Mm.
And it's something that I've started asking people. And I find that it gives me a lot more information, and it often brings about much better conversations and much richer conversations. So let me ask you, what brings you joy right now?
Ah, good fun. I love the word joy. I think joy is one of the best words, because it comes from deeper things of, like, I think the core of, like, who you are, what you're grounded in, your beliefs, your values, the things that bring you joy. Number one is always my relationship with God. My relationship with Jesus is just everything for me. I have been through so many different things through life that I love journaling, and, to journal prayers or journal things of the heart, and to watch years later how many things have come to fruition in a way that the ways that you normally never think will, and
Mm-hmm.
normally through hardship in a
Mm-hmm.
certain way. Just those, anything related to, faith and family and friends and food. Those are like, those things for me. They're all connecting, connecting with God so you can pour that love out to others, and being with your family, the people that are always going, like, if you really pour intentionality into those relationships, those are the lasting, those are your people. And then being able to have friends that are like family, that you
Mm-hmm.
create your own personal families. I love that. And to be honest, connecting over food, and being able to, all of those things, um, we all, for the most part, eat. We do have challenges, as we know, and
Yep.
seasons where sometimes we don't, and chronic illness we don't. But knowing that food, bringing people around a table to, or even just having tea, warm water, certain days it's what it is.
Yep.
It's something that I love. It's like a glue that just brings people together, and I love hearing about people's stories. So getting together with people I love, sharing, like, deep things, and having light moments of just being outside, going on bike rides, walks with friends, getting, unfortunately, very overpriced coffees. I do love them, but so that brings me joy. These little things, listening to bird songs is something that always, is so great. Taking time to breathe and connect, and through yoga has been a great, great thing that brings a lot of joy when I'm very much being intentional on the practice, whether it's just, meditation, breath work. It could be anything. It could be asana one day. It could be all sorts of just taking time for the little moments. The slowing down brings me joy recently, and being able to not overdo my schedule, but really, really, like, just savor the sights, the smells, the feelings, and being present brings me a lot of joy recently, because it's been a
Mm-hmm.
lifetime of, with chronic illness, not being present
Yeah.
because I don't want to be in pain.
Right. So speaking of pain, so how do you move through pain? Is there like a practice or a person or anything? What do you do? What do you do when you're in pain?
Honestly, on certain days, it's self-pity and loathing, and
Yes.
oh, woe
Yes.
is me.
Rolling in the shit.
Oh, so real. Like, I wish I could say it's like, yeah, just because I have my relationship with God, and I love my family, and I've got support, like, all those things, great. No, there's certain days where, like, I had years of prolonged pain that there was just no rest from,
Mm-hmm.
and it really can grind you down to, like, I just don't care. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Yep.
And a low point. So on those days, I'm learning to accept those days as for what they are. Um, I hate that, like, oh, tomorrow might be better. And like, it just, that doesn't help when
Nah,
you're in the
I'm
thick of
here
it.
now.
Like,
Yeah,
I
and I
know.
said I was gonna be present.
Oh,
So how do
right.
I do that?
Yes.
How do
Yes.
you do that? That's the thing. Like
So now
I I want to be present,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I'm in so much pain that I want to be anywhere but here.
I would say a lot of the time, because pain can, with Crohn's, I've learned, gosh, I would not wish that on anybody.
Nah.
It is horrific. It's absolutely horrible. And just it doesn't just affect the gut; it affects skin, eyes. I mean, everything, head to toe. It's not fun, but I've learned to, because it can really affect my mood and the mental state, and I will, out of love, remove myself to some me time, secluding, because I don't want what I'm feeling, because I'm aware it's garbage spilling out on those that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I cannot avoid that as a parent. So it's really learning to communicate when I'm having those hard moments, like, I need support here,
Mm-hmm.
and being open and vulnerable and why, and allowing others to step in and help is
Yeah.
somebody that wants to so much control, like the pain from stopping. You find you start to want to control other areas of
Mm-hmm.
life. So letting people come in and see you at your worst while you're in pain.
Yeah.
Oh, you talk about vulnerable, and like, it was something I learned to have to do after multiple surgeries, to let people drop food off,
Yeah.
or, hey, can we take the kids, or can we do these things? It's humbling. It's lovely, but just allowing the pain, not trying to always push it away. Using techniques like breath work has been quite
Do
fun.
you have a particular breathwork technique that you're like, that's the one?
For me, 3-part breathing is one. I just, because it makes you have to really
I have an
be
idea.
in your body.
I have an idea.
All
Why don't
right.
you lead us through it?
All right. All
right.
right. Good fun. We can do that. Okay. This is, I love this. All right. So, if we would like, find a comfortable seated position wherever you are at. Just getting cozy, sitting tall in your spine. When you've gotten yourself there, you can keep your eyes open or lower them to a soft gaze. Or if you feel safe where you are, feel free to close the eyes. If you would like, you can bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. And from here, just notice your natural breath. Notice the rise and the fall of the abdomen and the chest. Perhaps you notice your heartbeat. Again, remaining tall in your spine, lifting through the crown of your head. Shoulders down the back, away from the ears. Start to notice and deepen your breath, inhaling slowly through the nose and exhaling slowly through the nose at a pace that suits you. With each in-breath, start to breathe by expanding the belly into that hand if it is there. Noticing the belly balloon out with the inhale, filling it up. And then when you exhale, feeling the belly button slowly draw towards your spine. Breathing like this a few times, air filling up the abdomen. Exhale, relax. And as you notice the abdomen filling, the air will start to also rise, expanding into the rib cage. And then envisioning the air leaving the body, deflating on your exhale. As you breathe in, filling up the belly, filling up the rib cage, expanding 360 degrees. Slow, smooth exhales through the nose. And perhaps as you slowly inhale, you notice the air filling the belly, the ribs, and then the breath filling and rising through the chest. Reversing the breath, exhaling the chest, the ribs, the abdomen on the way out. Moving through this 3-part breath at your pace, visualizing the abdomen expand through the ribs, across the collarbones. Exhaling, just noticing your breath through this. If your mind's wandering, coming back, remembering belly, ribs, and chest. Move through the Dirga breath, the long breath, a few more cycles. Your hands are on the chest and the abdomen. If you'd like, you can place the palms back down toward your lap. Taking a deep breath in through the nose, out through the nose or mouth. Slowly notice what you hear around you. Notice any vibrations moving through your body. Perhaps before opening the eyes, taking a moment to think of something that brings you joy. Whether it's a pet, a place, a feeling. Another deep, full breath in and exhale. And just slowly begin to open the eyes.
Do I have to?
No. My turn.
Oh, thank you.
You're
I really needed that more than I thought.
welcome. Hey, I feel like I could have used that too, so thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me to do that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna need a moment to like come back, but I just find that breath work, breath is the one thing that I know that I can utilize no matter how I feel. And it's also one of the hardest things for me to tap into when I'm dysregulated.
Oh my, that is the truth. I try to teach it to my child and I try to teach it to myself, and it's so innocent when you see it in a kid where I don't want to do the breathing thing. I'm like, I feel that. I don't either. But
I feel like sometimes we can get so used to pain, discomfort, dysregulation that there's a fight in us. It's like, no, this is the state I'm used to. Like, I refuse to feel better. Like,
Yes.
I want to like roll in this mud, and
it's
when
weird comfort zone makes no sense.
Right, absolutely. But breath work like this, which is super simple, right? Like it's really like just think about expanding your belly, expanding your rib cage, expanding your chest. And just by doing this, right? Like it's amazing that you can self-regulate yourself, but sometimes it's getting to that point. And I believe that that's where practice comes in.
Yeah.
Because if we practice these things when we're okay, chilling, first thing in the morning, no one's bothering me, blah, blah. Then when you find yourself in the state of like, I can't, maybe you have a word or you have, sometimes it's a person that will remind you, right? If you have someone that you can co-regulate with, which is fantastic, then you just need that snippet to be like, I've got the tool,
Reset.
right? Like I have the key to this, like just need to remember where the key is, right? Where did I hide it?
Yeah, making that decision to do it.
Right, and if the key's put away year round and you're just like, oh, wait, I know I have a key somewhere for this, like it's likelihood is like, oh, well, no, breath work doesn't work, meditation doesn't work. But when it's something that just happens often and that you tap into often and you can see the benefits, then I hope that someday it'll just arise by itself. I won't even have to like find the key,
That's it's a lovely reference. I get the key reference very well. So yes, it's something that has to be practiced, like you said, on the days that are good. So our bodies and our minds are actually used to the benefits. We feel it, we know it, we live it. Not something that somebody's telling you, hey, why don't you try to breathe and take a deep breath for a moment?
Why don't you calm down?
Ooh. Ooh. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, so it is like you said, a very much intentional day to day, or, something that you're being intentional to practice. So you can remember, aha, I have something that works. I know
Right.
this. I know this.
And it may not always work, but
No.
isn't it wonderful when it does?
It is. And majority of the time, I don't come out of that time the same.
Yeah.
Even if it is 1% less angry.
That's the thing. Like,
I'm
even if it's 1%.
less angry
Yes.
or overwhelmed. It's not expecting it to be this, okay, I did this breathwork practice, or I did this yoga practice or something, and now I'm good.
Life
Let
is good.
go. Yes, that happens sometimes. And hopefully with the more repetition and the mindset change and the shift of just aligning what is right in the body and the mind, spirit, and just bringing that together for you in what way it's supposed to for you, then you're going to feel better. You're going to show up better. And you have things and it feels good to use the things. We're
Yeah.
trying here. So
I can tap into the resources that I've used before, which are not really resources. They're just like whatever my nervous system came up with when growing up, right?
Yeah.
Which I can tap into that very easily. That's available.
Yes.
Or I can do some work that is uncomfortable. Whoever thinks that yoga and meditation all this is like comfortable and fun, be here for a minute and you'll see.
Yeah.
But it's when we do that uncomfortable work that it works.
Yes. We don't, as I've heard in many wise teachers, you don't grow in your comfort zone. You grow outside of it, obviously.
Right.
These are,
And it's okay to be in comfort sometimes, right? Like we need
Yes.
that's why life ebbs and flows. Like everything, if you observe nature very often. Hello, Maui. We have a puppy here.
hi, buddy.
If you observe nature cycles, you will know
Yeah.
that things ebb and flow, and it's okay. Like we go through highs, we go through lows. I hope you hear him very well right now. And that's okay. And it's knowing that, yeah, okay, I can be in a low and still be somewhat okay. I can use resources to maintain. And then when I'm on a high, then, well, yay, we'll be here for a little bit. Hopefully the people watching or listening to this have gotten plenty of snippets of inspiration. I know that I have, but I would like to know if there's anything that you are reading right now or listening to, or if watching is what you want. I'm trying to stay away from watching too much TV and things like that, but if it could be something you're listening to or something you're reading that's inspiring you and inviting you to grow.
I stay within reading my Bible because I connect with God and connect with Jesus through his word. So that is always a steady thread. I do love, I have this book, Lighter, by Young, and it's
Hold on, isn't it right there?
I have it. Lighter, letting go of the past, connect with the present, and expand the future by Young Pueblo.
That's awesome.
And it is, I just find he's got a great way of communicating really how to walk through the work in the real time. Like this is not a when you're really trying to, like you said, get to why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Where did these things come from? So much of it goes back to things we didn't have control over, was our upbringing, an environment that we were raised in, and the things that were passed down to us. So there's something I read, and I don't think it was from him. It was something about making the ceiling of what you were raised in the floor of how you move forward.
I love that. Making the ceiling
of like your parents and how they raised you, your upbringing, the floor for you. Because there's great things that I'm sure we can, hopefully most families can hopefully pick out something that you've learned in a good, healthy way. Mm-hmm. And everybody has those very unhealthy, just the family garbage, and generational traumas can be passed down. But really, he talks about in the book just very practical ways of his journey and how he worked through a lot of stuff and didn't shy away from feeling things, being honest about things. So I love this, and I chip away a little couple pages at a time. And I love, it's around here somewhere. One thing I'm reading, which I am obsessed with, is just anything travel. I don't get to go anywhere as much as I'd like to across and overseas, but Anthony Bourdain's world travel, one of his world travel books, I'm going through his, and it was a very much snippet of so many of the places he's been, but it also puts like the literal information of everywhere he stayed, everywhere he ate. So if it's all snapshots of every country pretty much.
Nice.
So I love that stuff too. So
That's
those
super
are the
inspiring.
things. Yeah. So I hope to be like Drubinski and travel the world one day and reach every country. Drubinski, oh, he's a fun YouTube guy that's young guy that's traveled to every country, and he does it in such a great way, connecting with people through food and anything food and travel related. I watched Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. If you want like easy watching, it is the best. It's food and fun, and his personality is great.
So it sounds like you're also saying that there is room there for like just entertainment and also always being growing and doing difficult work.
I think you can get on to doing the work overload sometimes, and so yes, I try to make sure that there's lightness, and I always look for things to make me laugh, because I think laughter is just the absolute best thing in the world.
Yeah, that's been my rule lately. If I watch any TV content, streaming services or whatever, it has to make me laugh.
Or hungry.
Cooking. Oh no! It can't make me hungry, because I like to cook too much, and then I just get too excited and I start to cook. So nah.
I'm going to keep putting those ideas in your mind, because I've had your product of what you make, and it is so good. So yeah, you should watch these.
You should watch some cooking. All right, we're gonna finish up with a this or that, and since AI is a thing nowadays, and I've thought of every other question for this interview, I figured that the last thing the AI could do. So we're gonna do this real time. I'm gonna go onto the app, and we're just gonna prompt it to come up with 10 questions of this or that. I'll probably come up with 20.
All right.
Yeah, and I'll just like pick and choose, because I have no idea what it's gonna come up with. But fun questions. We'll go with fun. Oh, we'll see what that does. All right, let's see what it says. Are you ready for this?
I'm very intrigued, actually.
I am too.
Oh, wow.
Oh, some of these are good.
Ooh la
Okay.
la.
Wow. All right. It's 20 of them, but I think we're just going to do all 20, because I think they're pretty good. And also, you can say skip.
Okay.
Yeah? So you either this, that, or skip. There's freedom here. I'm not restricting you. That's all I'm saying.
Thank
All right. Cool. So, you ready?
I am.
All right. Yoga or meditation?
Isn't meditation part of yoga?
Thank you. Next. Sunrise or sunset?
Ooh. Oh, sunset.
Beach or mountain?
Beach.
I mean, you live in Florida. Reading a book or listening to a podcast?
Oh,
It could also be listening to a book these days.
no, I like to read books more than listen to books. So, but I would say recently listening to a podcast.
Nice. Smoothies or juice?
Juice.
Journaling or painting?
Painting.
Morning routine or evening routine?
Morning routine. Not good.
Digital detox or social media scrolling?
Social media scrolling. Yeah, probably. With
City life or countryside?
Countryside more likely, but I do love city life too.
Group activities or solo adventures?
Solo adventures, probably.
Hiking or cycling?
Hiking.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Cooking at home or dining out?
Oh, in the stage of motherhood, dining out.
Guided meditation or silent meditation?
Guided meditation in the season of life. I'm out. Yeah.
Planning or spontaneity?
Planning.
Aromatherapy or massage therapy?
Massage therapy all day.
I mean, no one asked about the budget, right? So it's like...
I used to be a massage therapist.
Oh, that's true.
Yes, I will advocate for that all day.
For sure. I don't utilize that resource enough.
Oh, I mean, retired massage therapist?
Minimalist or maximalist?
Oh, I would love to be a minimalist. I'm working on it, throwing things away day by day.
Nice. Gardening or... How are these or that? But gardening or stargazing?
Ooh. Aspiring gardening.
Essential oils or candles?
I mean, recovering candle person, moving over to essential oils recently more.
Live music or a quiet night in?
Live music any day.
What do you think, Maui? Maui or Maui? That's the last one.
Maui. Right, mister.
All right. Well, this is the last of the questions. Thank you so much for playing the this or that. That was interesting. I'll be doing that on every one of these conversations.
Get
I
a
think it's
whole
fun.
new set of them.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation with Valerie, and I look forward to seeing your comments. Anything that has inspired you, we would love to hear from you. And as always, you can connect with me in any of the social platforms or shoot me an email if you have any questions. If you have Crohn's, colitis, or one of these, happy World IBD Week.
Yes.
Remember that you can practice with me this Sunday, May the 19th. You can find all the info in the show notes. Until we meet again, pause often, breathe deeply, and be kind, especially to yourself. Much love.